Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So as you all know, we were discussing Dvayatanupassana Sutta, contemplation of Dvayats in the, this is coming in the Sutta Nipata, where Buddha is talking about certain vipassana aspects. So when someone is continuing one's vipassana meditation, so he come to a concluding direction or kind of decision that okay, now I got to do like this. At the beginning he is wavering, his mind is not yet sure about the path, but once he continue for a long time, then he come to a thorough understanding, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what now the path has to be done. So likewise, it's a kind of a decision that he can come across, a kind of a target he can keep, a kind of an aim that he has understood. So that is mentioned in this Dvayatanupassana Sutta. Actually, such aims, such says decisive practices are explained in 16 forms. So Buddha himself has taken this sutta, and he himself is explaining the whole thing, and he's mentioning the monks, okay, there are different kinds of such concluding decisions, aims that the bhikkhu, the monk, can takes. So starting with the Four Noble Truths. So Four Noble Truths are divided into two parts as two contemplations. Two truths are in the mundane type, where the cause of suffering and the suffering, and then the cessation of suffering and the path leading to the cessation of suffering as the supramundane achievement, where one is continuing one's path. So understanding Four Noble Truths is quite regularly, people are very much paying attention, and they recognize that as one of the destinations or kind of final goal that what one has to achieve. So all these are very much like goals that we have to come across, or certain themes that we can recognize as we continue our vipassana path. And then acquisitions are the second one, where one understands acquisitions. The upadis are causing fair amount of suffering. So abandoning upadis, abandoning acquisitions becomes one's path. Then avidya, the ignorance has become one's main theme of vipassana, where one wants to overcome ignorance. So one has understood, okay, ignorance is the cause of suffering, and now one has to abandon that ignorance which is causing a lot of suffering. And then the fourth one is volitional activities, sankhara. So sankharas are causing suffering, and one now needs to cease all sankhara, to stop all formations. So that becomes one's path. Then one understands consciousness is the main issue. Say whenever the consciousness is established and it is being conditioned, and where say all different kinds of consciousness, when it is established and conditioned, it is causing suffering. So how to avoid that kind of an established consciousness, how to avoid that kind of a conditioned consciousness. So that becomes one's aim, one's goal in one's vipassana practice. Then contact. So someone can understand, okay, contact is one of the root cause of suffering. Contact causes Vedana, contact causes all different kinds of formations, contact causes all different kinds of perceptions. So contact is also one root cause of suffering. So one is now abandoning the contact, and one tries to cease the contact. So that becomes one's goal, that becomes one's path. Then feeling. As in the Vedananupassana, one understands different kinds of feelings, and now he wants to understand feelings without attaching to them or without repelled by them. Now one wants to overcome them. So that becomes one's path. So based on the feelings. Now craving. This is a very common one, where one understands cause of suffering is nothing but craving. That is actually the second noble truth, dukkha samudayang arya satchang. So now one's path has become a way of abandoning craving, letting go of craving. So that becomes one's path. So all these are different way of how one may looking at the whole path. So there are different ways or different themes that one can looking into. Now these are the ones actually Buddha is now explaining us. Now clinging becomes the other one. Actually the suffering, or rather the craving leads to clinging. So as we continue craving, it can ultimately become something or become someone. So that kind of a becoming process is there, led by bhava tanha particularly. And so then the grasping or clinging becomes a cause of suffering. So now one wants to abandon that clinging, abandon that grasping, so that one's mind is released. So that can become another way of practice, another way of vipassana. So one's idea is always to abandon grasping. Now then instigation is the 10th theme, where one may understand at a particular point, okay, I need to stop all the different kinds of volitional activities. I got to stop all that. So I was continuing different kinds of volitional activities, and it has motivated me to become everything every time as a kind of a different form, to become someone or to attach with something. So I got to stop this, so that whatever arisen feelings, whatever arisen perceptions ultimately cease. Since I am not looking forward to any kind of a future existence, any kind of future activity, any kind of future formation, and I basically have stopped all the different volitional activities, okay, everything ceased, one may touches the nirodha, the cessation. So this becomes one's practice, this becomes one's theme, so at a particular vipassana level. Then another theme is based on the nutriments. So as we know, there are 4 nutriments Buddha explained. Kabalikara ahara, where the kind of audible food, then passa ahara, contact, mano sanchetana ahara, volitional activities, and then vijnana ahara, the consciousness nutriment. So those different kinds of nutriments are the cause of suffering. So one understands from that point of view, from that angle. And now one wants to thoroughly understand the 4 nutriments, and now one is trying to abandon them or keep them aside, not to attach with them. So that becomes one's path. So this is another way of understanding the whole vipassana practice at one point, at one level. Then last time actually we discussed about the agitation. When one is driven by craving, so one's mind is always pulled by various sensual objects, various kinds of ideas. So always, therefore, some sort of an agitation can happen in one's mind. So one may understand that, and as a result of that, one is trying to keep one's mind in a very relaxed, tranquil state without any kind of an agitation. So whatever suffering happens, that happens because of agitation, is another way of looking at it. So agitation is actually, we can say, a result of craving. So now one is looking at that result, that agitation, sometimes available in one's mind, and trying to calm down, trying to relax, trying to tranquil, so that agitation is not there, so that suffering is also not there. So that becomes one's way of practice. And today we can get into the next topic. So that is depend on the dependency. So Buddha mentioned, okay, what would be another way of looking at this whole vipassana path, or after coming to a particular level, how one may understand the vipassana. Nissitassa chalitang hotiti ayang ekanupassana, anisito na chalatiti ayang dutiyanupassana. So one may understand, okay, whatever suffering arises, that happens because of when the mind is dependent on something. When mind is dependent on something, there will always be a wavering, kind of a quaking. But on the other hand, if there is no any kind of dependency, that means the mind is completely independent, then there is no any kind of quake, any kind of wavering. So mind remains very calm, quiet, still, tranquil, because there is no dependence. So whatever we depend upon are subjected to change. Suppose that we are depending on certain nimitta, so that nimitta can change. Say for example, you are practicing meditation and you got a concentration sign and you are trying to looking at it, and it may change its intensity, it may change its color, or it may start fading away, it may start disappearing. So all that causes some kind of a suffering or kind of a agitation in one's mind if he is fully dependent on that nimitta. Similarly, if one is trying to maintain some sort of a feeling, he finds it kind of a very good feeling, so he is trying to maintain it, trying to hold it, but we can't do that because feeling is subject to change. So ultimately, since when it is changing, the mind becomes agitated, mind becomes subject to suffering. Say you are holding kind of a view, so that view also can be attacked by someone can challenge that, and you might even understand this view is not correct. So all that views are also subjected to change. So if we attach to a particular view, hold to a particular view, then again we can get into some sort of suffering. Suppose we are very much like identify with the body. Looking at the body is fairly healthy and young and looking pretty good. So we are attached to that. But unfortunately, it starts changing. It becomes older, getting sick, and all that is possible. At that moment, we can subject to suffering. So likewise, whenever we are dependent on something, so that dependent object is not a constant object. It is actually a changing object. And those changing factors, causes, are beyond our control. So whenever those causes are changing, unfortunately we are subject to suffering because we are attached to that. So our happiness is now dependent on some sort of changing objects, changing causes, conditions, and when they are changing, ultimately we suffer. So nisitasa chalitam. So therefore one contemplation is to understand that whenever mind is dependent on something, it is subjected to some sort of suffering. Ultimately there could be a quaking, there could be a agitation, there could be some sort of wavering. On the other hand, if we are able to maintain a mind which is not dependent on anything, not holding on to anything, not dependent on anything, not attached to anything, so the mind's freedom is completely available, not dependent on anything, then there can't be any kind of wavering. So that becomes the second contemplation. Now this is one of the interesting themes highlighted in the Satipatthana, where one is practicing Kayanupassana or Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana. So every time when one is going to the Vipassana practice, so ultimate result is highlighted as Anistitocha Vihirati, where one's mind is completely unassociated. Say for example, if one is practicing Kayanupassana, say you are practicing elements meditation, you are trying to understand various element characteristics in the body, and at the beginning you need certain amount of mindfulness, certain amount of concentration to do that. So once those are available and when you are maintaining proper balance of effort, now probably you can understand various element characteristics. The body shows all that. So body is consisting that, body is dependent on various elements. So those elements starts changing and they start manifesting. And so our attention is capable of recognizing all that. And we start recognizing, say, earth element, recognizing water element, recognizing heat element, recognizing air element. So all that actually is slowly we understand, okay, it is nothing but elements. Elements are there. So now you understand, okay, this body comprises with elements, and say those are the element characteristics every time what we experience. Now further we looking at this help us to understand how impermanent they are, how unsatisfactory they are, and how non-governable they are. So these elements are dependent on so many other conditions, so we don't have control to them, and ultimately elements are subject to change. So they are inconstant, they are not permanent. Now when one is looking at like that, so one may slowly understand how impermanent they are, how inconstant they are, how changing they are, how vulnerable they are, and they are inconstant, anicca. And now this continues. I mean, there is no any kind of an element, any kind of physical object, we can say that it is not subjected to this kind of transient nature, impermanence. So we can say therefore all whatever condition, form or material phenomena are subjected to such kind of a oppression by this kind of impermanence. So therefore one may conclude, okay, this is suffering, this is unsatisfactory. Now as we continue further, one may understand, okay, I have no control at all. Whatever the elements manifesting, I have no control. How long they would manifest, I still don't have control. When they are vanishing, still I don't have control. How to form them, still I have no much control. So likewise, one may understand non-self. So further and further we understand that, further and further kind of a letting go happens, non-attachment happens, or disenchantment happens. And that is slowly we are now getting closer to the anisita state, the unassociated state. Because mind understand no point of grasping this, no point of depending on these, because they are very vulnerable, inconstant, unsatisfactory, non-governable, so no point of holding them, no point of depending on them. So ultimately mind gives up, let it go, let it free. And then what one may achieve this anisita state, where what we call as the independent, unassociated state of mind. So it's very well explained in the Satipatthana Sutta again and again. Attikayo tiva panassa satipacchupattita hoti yavadeva jnana mattaya patissati mattaya anisitocha viherati nachakinchi loke upadhyati. So one may understand, okay, this is fairly a body consisting of various bodily parts, consisting of various element characteristics. Other than that, there is no person, there is no being, there is no I. So all are fully conditioned, and no point of holding it, no point of attaching to it, dependent on it. So the mind starts releasing it, not holding on to that. So once it has been released, so mind feels relaxed, calm, unburdened, lighter, freed. So the independence is now available. So the mind has some independence now. It doesn't depend on the body, doesn't depend on any kind of material phenomena. Mind has let go of all that. But unfortunately, even though it has let go of the bodily phenomena, it might get attached to various feelings. Now feelings also has to be let go of. So through Dvayatanupassana, one may understand various kinds of feelings, how they are coming and going, how they are changing. So similarly, he understands, okay, no point of grasping to feelings. So he starts letting go of feelings as well, not holding them, not thinking them as belongs to oneself. So slowly abandoning feelings as well. One might even can attach to perceptions, various views. Now that also has to be let go of. So when one practices Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana, so various perceptions are recognized, no point of holding to them. Slowly one is trying to abandon them, so that mind becomes very, very lighter without conditioning. And fair amount of clarity is there now, less perceptions, less marks, less signs, less stains in the mind, so that the clarity of the mind is retained. Now when that is possible. So we can say, okay, it is free from any stains, free from any perceptions, free from any marks, signs. So mind has become completely clear, transparent, and no stains at all. It has become independent from the perceptions. Now there could be various thoughts, intentions, and mind can initiate some sort of activities because of these formations, thoughts. Now through Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana, if one starts letting go of all the thoughts, all the intentions, since he understood that they are impermanent, unsatisfactory and unself, so slowly mind becomes empty. No thoughts at all, no thinking, but remain calm, quiet, tranquil, but vigilant, fully aware. So basically, one's mind is now, we can say, fairly independent because no even thoughts. Now while continuing one's life, one can see, hear, smell, taste, touch, cognize, and during those times also, without attaching to them, without holding anything, without claiming them as myself, so one starts letting go of all that conscious activities and keep the mind completely free. Then we can say we are practicing this independent, freed state of mind. We are trying to keep that emptiness, signlessness as much as possible. Now, so Buddha has encouraged this. Basically, he encouraged this when he is talking about even about the Nibbana. So there are various suttas. Buddha encouraged monks to dwell on this kind of an emptiness. So I have taken one example in the Kuddaka Nikaya, Udana, Chatutta Nibbana Patisangyutta Sutta, where Buddha encourages monks to keep that independent state of mind. And this has become one of the very, strong advice given even at the deathbed. So there is one sutta called Channovada Sutta, where Venerable Channa is passing away. He is actually on his last breath. At that moment, Venerable Chunda actually giving this advice, telling that, okay, Venerable, this Buddha has given this kind of ultimate teaching. Okay, you got to reflect that. What is that? Nissitassa chalitang anisitassa chalitan nati. Chalite asati passaddi. Passaddiya sati nati nohoti. Natiya asati agati gati nohoti. Agati gatiya asati chutupapato nohoti. Chutupapate asati nevaida na hurang na ubhe mantarena. Now this is the advice Buddha has given. Now, this is a very, very interesting and fairly profound teaching. Nissitassa chalita. There is wavering in one who is dependent. So, when one is dependent on something, there could be wavering. Because what we are dependent on are subject to change, subject to impermanence. And as a result of that, we being the dependent, so we become subject to some sort of wavering, agitation. But on the other hand, anisitassa chalitan nati. If we are completely independent, then there is no any kind of wavering. But the problem of the mind is that it is being conditioned to become always attached to something or attached to someone, looking forward to someone, expecting a companion, expecting a partner, expecting someone to share, expecting mother, expecting father, expecting child, expecting caretaker. So we always have a kind of a tendency to be with someone, to depend on someone, to attach to someone, share our suffering with someone. So this is a kind of a nature that we have. So that indicates that we are still dependent. We can't become completely independent. That's on the other hand true, because we as human beings, we can't say that we are going to be completely independent. So we need someone's help, we need someone's care, we need someone's medicine, so we are fully connected each other. But when we are practicing Satipatthana, so ultimately at least during the meditation you can experience, okay, the mind has become completely independent. It does not think about anyone. It does not have any kind of possessive view about anything. Or he does not imagine about any another future achievement or future state. Rather, it has stopped. Mind has become freed. At that moment, we can say, okay, mind has become independent. So that has a significant effect on one's life. So one may start giving up all various kinds of unnecessary attachments, and one may continue one's life with less burden, without unnecessarily putting one's hand to something, without interfering unnecessarily. So understanding or knowing one's limits. So likewise, there could be drastic changes in one's life, so as one is continuing Vipassana, because sometimes we understand, okay, I am unnecessarily participating into some kind of an event. They haven't even invited me, but I am now trying to interfere. I am now trying to participate. So why should I do that? So likewise, one may start reflecting about one's activities and start refining them, so that all unnecessary participations, all unnecessary interruptions are abandoned, so that one becomes fairly tranquil, maintaining a fairly balanced life. And if something comes on one's way, probably he may take it over and start doing that properly. After completing that, again it is done, no further thinking, keeping the mind fairly still, fairly quiet. So this becomes one's practice. So basically, keeping the mind anisita, keeping the mind completely independent. Now Buddha further mentioned, chalite asati passadi. So when there is no wavering, there is tranquility. That is obvious, because there is no wavering, there is no any agitation. So it is now has become tranquil. Passadya sati nati nahoti. So when there is tranquility, there is no any kind of an inclination, any kind of a bias. So mind is completely unbiased, very steady, very straight, no any wavering. So there is no bias. Natya asati agati gati nahoti. When there is no bias, there is no coming and going. Because when there is bias, only we tend to do something. Say, for example, I am thinking of future achievement or future event. So my mind is now looking forward to that, always anticipating that. So that can cause some sort of a bias in the mind. So I am continuing or ambitious about it, and now I am continuing that, towards that. So always thinking about that, again coming to the present, again thinking about that, again coming to the present. So many thousand times actually you are pre-living this kind of a future event or future activity. Suppose that you are going to marry. So you are planning. So many things are there to plan, and you are thinking, you are imagining, you are planning. All that is there. So again and again you become someone. Again and again you be with someone. Again and again you are imagining something. So likewise, mind has some sort of coming and going to various objects, to various activities, to maybe various future events. So similarly, it can happen to the past also. When you are biased to a particular past event, say you had a nice time with someone long time ago, you still remember that. Again and again you are reliving that. You are thinking about it again, have a slight smile, again thinking about it, have another smile, or sometimes you start crying. Why can't I have it again? Why can't I meet him again? You start crying. So all that is possible because mind starts coming and going. Start sort of remembering that. Mind has lost its steadiness, stillness. But when there is no bias, okay, mind remains calm, quite still, very quiet. Agati gatiya asati, chutupato nahoti. Chutupapata. So chutupata means kind of passing away and reappearing, passing away and again reborn. So whenever we acquire something, whenever we are anticipating to something, so we become that, we become someone. Say you want to become someone and you now become someone. So you want to say taste a particular food, say an ice cream, and now you are thinking about it, you want to taste it, so you go there and start taking it and you start eating it. So while eating, you completely close your eyes, completely immersed in that experience, and you are very much like thrilled by that. So that is where we become that, whatever the experience. So whenever we are going through such kind of sensual experience, we can completely indulge in it. On the other hand, say if you want to become someone, say I want to become a doctor, fine. So you start working on that, you do hard practice, hard work, say a lot of studies, and probably you can become a doctor. So now you are thinking like a doctor and you imagine that you are the doctor, and even at home you want to be the doctor, not only at the hospital. So you have become the doctor. So you are playing that role, trying to play that role everywhere. Not only at the hospital, but even at home or even at the road. So you want to show that you are a doctor. So you have become, you have assumed that. So that becoming is there. So you have born to that state now. So whenever that you are there, you are born to that. But unfortunately, you have to let it go also. It may change. Your duty is off now. So you are no more a doctor. You are not allowed to, say, treat the patients, say, once you sign off. So you have to let it go. So that's passing away. So all that becoming has a kind of an end as well. Chutupavate asati. But whenever there is no such kind of a becoming, when there is no any kind of coming and going, there is no such kind of a becoming. So you haven't become anyone, and you haven't been with anything. So you are still, so the mind is remaining calm, still, quiet, without any bias, without coming and going, without arising and passing away, without born and without reborn and passing away. So when that is there, Chutupapate asati neva ida na hurang na ubhemantarena esevanto dukkassa. So Buddha mentioned here, when there is no passing away and reappearing, there is no here, no beyond, no in between, this is the end of suffering. So basically, when there is no any movement, any bias, any kind of reappearing, reborn, passing away, so that means mind remains as it is. Mind has become stopped, mind has become still. So there are various other places that this is highlighted. Say for example in the Dhammapada, so there's a interesting verse in the Arahanta Vagga, Yassasava parikkena ahare cha anissito sunyato animitto cha vimokho yassa gocharo akaseva sakuntanang padang tassa durannaya. Yassasava parikkena, all different kinds of influxes, pollutants are destroyed. Ahare cha anissito, so we already discussed about the 4 nutriments. So with respect to all 4 nutriments, he has some sort of a detachment. Only necessary if he is eating. Only if it is necessary, he is looking at something. Not driven by that, not greedy about it. Only if necessary, he is volitionally doing something, thinking about it. Otherwise, trying to keep the mind quiet. When it is necessary, dealing with any kind of a name and form, trying to keep the mind clear from name and form. There are no visualizations, there are no stains, so that mind maintains its clarity. Very much like all 4 categories of ahara, nutriments, are kept aside. Only if necessary he partake it. Sunyato animitto cha vimokho yassa gocharo. Now his gochara, his resort is either emptiness liberation or signless liberation. So he's keeping the mind completely empty, completely free from any kind of a sign. So that becomes one's posture. Akaseva sakuntanam padantasya duranna. So as a result of that, whatever the object that he has associated is not easy to trace. So mind does not hold on to anything, mind hasn't become conditioned with anything, colored with anything. So as much as possible, mind not associating anything, always trying to keep it empty, signless. So therefore someone can't trace where his mind has wandered, where his mind has touched upon, where his mind has contacted, because it remains unassociated. So this is a very interesting way that Buddha points it out. So how Arahant's mind is continuing without an object, without any kind of a holding, without any kind of a grasping, without any kind of a footing. So like where the footprints of a bird who has flying in the sky, you can't trace. There is no sign. This is a very interesting simile also included here. So there is no sign when a bird is flying. Now further, in various other suttas, I just take another simple example, another good example. In Chabbisodhana Sutta, so Buddha mentioned, okay, someone can become completely purified by maintaining this kind of a state of mind. So ditteko ahang auso anupayo anapayo anisito appatibaddo vipamutto visangyutto vimariyadikatena cetasa viharami. Now he say the Arahanto, the one who is practicing to become an Arahant, to basically to practice the Vipassana, he is trying to do like this. So with respect to all different kinds of forms, whatever sights, so he is trying to keep his mind without attached to them, without repelled by them, completely anisita, completely independent, without being bound by that, completely freed from that, not getting attached to that, and not being bound by that, not being sort of restricted by that. Vimariyadikatena cetasa. So when you are paying very closed, focused attention onto something, so your mind become bound by that. Your mind become restricted by that. Sort of a constraint is there. It has narrowed down to that particular object. But when he is not interested of any of those sights, mind is not restricted onto it, mind is not constrained onto it, narrowed to that. So rather the mind become completely limitless. There is no any boundary. Similarly, it is mentioned Suteko ahang auso anupayo anapayo anisito appatibaddo vipamutto visangyutto vimariyadikatena cetasa viharami. So with respect to the sounds, the same thing. He is not very much continuously keeping attention onto a particular sound, so that mind become conditioned, mind become restricted, constrained, bound by that. Rather he is keeping the mind completely open, kind of an open awareness. Similarly mentioned about the muteko auso ahang auso anupayo anapayo anisito appatibaddo, like that it is mentioned. That means what one is experiencing through the tongue, nose and the body, there also he is not trying to pay close attention, keeping its restrained, constrained, restricted onto that particular object. Rather his mind is trying to kept quite open. That doesn't mean that he is not experiencing, but he is experiencing, but mind is not tangled with it. Mind is not constricted by that. Mind remains without mixing with that. Whatever the things that going through, his mind is not mixing with anything. Then viññāteko ahang ausu anupayo anapayo anisito appatibaddo vipamutto visangyutto vimariyadikatena cetasa viharami. Sometimes thoughts are coming, various mental objects are coming, he simply knows it and let it go, rather than dwell upon it, rather than promoting it, rather than thinking about it, holding it, multiplying it, diversifying it. Nothing is there. Simply let it go without any participation, without any construction, without any fabrication. So in such case, so his mind remain quite open, limitless. Limitless. There is no any particular limit to the mind. So that's why Buddha mentioned, okay, I am maintaining this limitless mind. My mind is completely limitless. So Buddha encouraged that, and Buddha mentioned, okay, if an arahant would say like this, then you can understand, okay, he has that kind of an achievement. So this Chabbisodan Sutta is a sutta where a series of criteria explained to understand a true arahant. So they are everywhere. Anyway, we can understand, okay, anisita state is something encouraged, because when the mind is dependent on something, it starts wavering. So instead of dependent on something, so it's encouraged to keep it independent. So in the Dvayatanupassana Sutta also, Buddha encourages this. Anisito na chalati nisito cha upadiyam. Itta bhava anyata bhavang sansarang nati vattati. So one who is independent does not quake, but one who is dependent, clinging to things, does not transcend samsara, with its becoming thus becoming otherwise. So you become something, but unfortunately it can't remain as it is, it change. So the mind also subjected to change. Mind also go through some sort of wavering, because you have attached to something, but it is impermanent thing. You have attached to some particular process. It's a process. It is changing. So if we are attached to something, so that means we are going through the whole samsara without being freed. Hence we have to keep the mind independent, so that it is not dependent on anything, attached to anything, holding on to anything, associating anything. Etamadinava nyatva nissayasu mahabhayang anissito anupadano sato bhikkhu paribhaje. So Buddha concludes there, having known this danger, there is great peril in dependencies, independent, without clinging, a bhikkhu should wander mindfully. Anissito anupadano, without any association, without any kind of a dependency, and without any kind of a clinging, grasping. Mindfully, one is continuing one's life. Okay, so this is the 13th theme explained in this Dvayatanupassana Sutta. So very much like one understand the danger in the association, any kind of a dependency available in the mind. So his theme, his goal is to keep the mind completely independent, completely freed, without holding on to anything, without attaching to anything, without dependent on anything, keeping the mind completely independent. Okay, with that we'll conclude today's Sutta teaching session. Now I like to open the session for questions.
Thank you, Bhante.
How are you?
Hi, Bhante. Hello, everyone. Yes, I am finally back after a long time away in several retreats, during the past couple of months.
Good.
Yeah, so Bhante, that you mentioned about during the Dhamma talk today, I think I got a little taste of it, and it's wonderful, this letting go, this disassociation and independence of mind is very sublime.
Good. Good that you have tasted it.
Yes. And thanks to Ms. Priyanka for helping to host the sessions previously. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand or feel free to send them through the chat.
Yep. So actually I also like to thank Priyanka. She took over the whole thing and kindly help us. And now Jennifer is back on the stage, so we'll continue with her.
All right. I'd like to invite Miss Kumudini to ask your question.
Okay. Thero, I have a question, but it's not related to this. Is it okay? It's not related to today's Dhamma talk.
Okay, we'll try to turn it to today's Dhamma talk then.
Okay. I have been, that would be great. I have been listening to some Abhidhamma studies, and that in that they Panatipata, if somebody commits suicide, that it is not Panatipata. Is that correct?
It depends on who is committing it. So if there is any kind of volition, now in order for Panatipata to happen, killing to happen, so there are few conditions to be satisfied. So one should know that it is a living being, and then
no, it is yourself. This is yourself. If you commit suicide,
yeah, that's okay.
That's not started as Panatipata.
Yeah. So let me explain. So
okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So first one needs to understand that he's a living being, and then one has to have an intention to kill, and so one is forming some sort of a strategy to kill. So as a result of that strategy, one being killed. So I think when committing suicide, all that conditions are satisfied.
That means it is Panatipata.
I also think so.
Is it not?
Yes. So that's why it is not recommended. It's not sort of appreciated. Rather, the living is more promoted.
That's why I was very puzzled and I didn't agree. I thought I should ask this question from you, because that lady, even in the program, she's the one who is conducting. She went back to her teacher and asked this question, and she came back and said, no, it is not regarded as Panatipata if you commit suicide. So it didn't sound right to me to ask you. Then also that she who has attained the stage of Sotapanna, if that person is born in Arupavachara, a place, after attaining, that you can still further your progress to become,
Arahant.
Is that possible?
Yeah, it is possible. Now, it could be possible because
it
is possible because if one is already a Sotapanna, so he knows the path. He himself can achieve the whole
But
whole
in
thing.
Arupavachara, you don't have a form, do you, Bhante?
Yeah, no form, but form is not a must. Form is not essential for one to continue one's path, because already the Vedana perceptions, consciousness formations are there. So that formless aggregates are there, and so one may continue one's path because he already achieved Sotapanna state, maybe while at say in the Rupa world, in the heavenly realm, or in the Manusa, the human realm, one has become a Sotapanna, but because of one's practice of jhana, one has become a Arupavachara Brahma. But he can continue his path without a form.
Without a form, he can his path to Nibbana.
Can.
In other words.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Bhante. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
But you also agree that the first one is not correct.
I also think so, because you know that now Buddha basically discourage even monks telling or talking about the death, in the sense promoting the death. So Buddha mentioned, okay, you commit parajika if you are promoting the death. So to that extent, so Buddha wants to keep the living beings as it is, without promoting any kind of say committing suicide. So even if you promote committing suicide, so there you are promoting the death, and basically that become a grave hindrance to the monk, grave offense to the monk.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Yeah.
Now it is clear to me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Geshan for the next question.
Saranai Bhante, and first of all, I really enjoyed the talk. Listening again for the second time, of course, in the medium of English. And I didn't want to sort of make a comment, but then again, when Kumudini, the lady prior to me, asked the question, committing suicide, and my understanding from the Sunday school that I used to go back in Sri Lanka as a child, and there are 5 conditions. The 5th condition, please do correct me if I'm wrong, and I can be. So the 5th condition is for you, once you sort of, after the killing, the person who sort of execute that killing have to know that the subject is dead. So if I am killed myself, how would I know that I am dead after I kill myself? So I think that became a sort of a question, and that's the reason why I thought of asking that, just for elaborate on that, if you don't mind. Thank you.
So I think now he has a great intention to kill. Now we are talking about the committing suicide. Sure. Anyway. So
right.
So once he done that, okay, he passed away. Now no more his life is available. I feel it is obvious. Rather than, say it is not. So you consider yourself as another being. So say for example you are spreading metta. So when you are spreading metta, yes, you consider yourself also as a being, as a person, and then you spread metta. So assume that there's say for example there are certain stories, like say you have to select whom to be killed. So you have your enemy in front, you have a friend in front, you have a neutral person in front, and you have yourself. So whom are you going to select to kill? So basically you can't take a choice on such case. If you think, okay, I can't kill anyone, so I am killing myself. That is also not the correct answer. So therefore, a great respect is given for one's life, and that's why Buddha encourages mentioning that dullabha manussa patilabho, dullabha manussatta patilabho. So this human realm, human birth is extremely important, extremely valuable, and he completely against committing suicide. But there are certain there are certain exceptions. That is for the Arahants. So the Arahants' case are quite different, because when they assume that they killed themselves, there is no rebirth. And when they are killing, in case if they are killing, so they may be due to a valid reason. Say for example, there is one story, Dabbamalla. So he's an Arahant, and he understood, okay, my lifespan has come to an end. So he actually attained the kasina, the fire kasina, and using that he burned the whole body, and there was no even ash. And he committed suicide in one sense. If you look at from another angle, we can say he committed suicide. But there is no rebirth, and when he is continuing it, there is no any kind of a personality view either. But on the other hand, for the others, so when there is an intention to kill, so there is a person that I am killing myself. So you have become a someone. So that strong a strong personality view, strong person, individuality is there. So either you kill someone or either you kill yourself. So there the personal involvement is thoroughly established. So therefore I feel that it's I don't know, it comes maybe in a very subtle way. One can argue, okay, it is not panatipata veramani. I don't know. I don't like to agree with that.
I agree with you, Bhante. It's not that I want to commit suicide, of course. I think this is the greatest, like as what you said, from Buddha's teaching, and I wanted to sort of see how well that this kind of teaching has helped me. So for that, I wanted to say sadhu, and thank you so much. Again, I really enjoy your talk today, and with that, I'm going to say Thunuran Saranai.
Yeah, Thunuran Saranai.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Vita for the next question.
Good morning, Bhante.
Yeah, good morning.
I want to ask about the experience of with sitting meditation or even walking. Sometimes a part of the body might feel very heavy, like lead, or sometimes another part will feel very light, almost like it's not quite there. Now, when I was thinking about it, I wondered if this was a sort of the mind accidentally going into elements meditation and connecting with, say, earth element or air element, even though I haven't set out to meditate on the elements. How is that a reasonable way of understanding when that happens, when the body sort of feels that way, I'm very heavy, or a part feels very light or a part feels very hot? I'm just trying to understand what that is, or whether it's just some sort of an altered perception at that moment, at that time.
No, I think it's the elements that we are experiencing, because this is not sort of an altered perception. Rather, say the whole body. Now, if various illusions can happen, visualizations can happen, but that is very much into the visual area. But here we directly feel. So we directly feel the lightness, we directly feel the heaviness, we directly feel the heat, cold, etc. So there the direct touch is there. So the kind of direct experience is there. So that direct experience we can actually take it, we can start observing, investigating, so that we may understand its impermanent nature, unsatisfactory nature and unself nature. So that's why we can say it's a kind of a true phenomena we are now trying to use for Vipassana. So in whatever time, because this body consisting of 4 elements, always they are operating there continuously, subject change, etc. So once we pay enough attention, close attention to the body, so automatically we may reveal those manifestations.
Right. Okay. With the heaviness, I couldn't see the passing away until it had, of course, passed away. But what it felt was like at that time was that it was so heavy, as if the body, that area was going to implode because it was so heavy.
Now, thing is, so when we start observing these element characteristics, at the beginning we might not see much change. So they are there, but still we might not see much change. But as our resolution increase, as our resolution in the sense the clarity, kind of precision of our attention increases, then there is a possibility that you even understand, okay, there are certain vulnerabilities, there are certain ups and downs to this intensity of the heaviness. So likewise, there's there's an appearance of heaviness, there is a starting of heaviness. Now after some time, it may even change to some kind of lightness. So likewise, so they are subjected to change, So more we are capable of precisely keep our attention there, so we may start understanding those subtle changes.
Right. Okay. Okay, Bhante. Thank you.
Yeah. Thero Sanai.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from any other participants?
Nothing from our side, Jennifer.
Okay. It looks like nothing on my side as well, Bhante.
Okay. Right, then we'll wind up the session. We have spent 1 hour and discuss some Dhamma and again listen to a Dhamma sermon, and with that we were able to accumulate some merits. We'll share these merits with all the celestial beings, and we share these merits with whoever in need of merits and all with the past relatives. And we wish these merits help us also to understand Buddha's teaching and to attain path fusion Nibbana. We'll recite the traditional verses. Ettavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Ettavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Ettavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Akasatta ca bummatta devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu sasanang. Akasatta ca bummatta devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu desanang. Akasatta ca bummatta devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu mamparang. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo. Imina punya kammena māme bāla samāgamo yāva nibbāna pattiyā. Imina punya kammena māme bāla samāgamo satang samagamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiyā. Imina punya kammena māme bāla samagamo satang samagamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiyā. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.